counting, and then you'd be like, Mitch hates us.
Oh, but so you can keep this bit in the intro because it's like we're just laughing. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another nerdy podcast, episode number 3, The Last Crusade, the
return of the podcast.
The return of the podcast, the Judgment podcast, the Tokyo Drift of podcast.
Wait, is Judgment podcast?
Or the Judgment Day.
Isn't that number 2?
No, isn't TI isn't
no,
Salvation.
Terminator.
Is Salvation?
No, there's T3, Rise of the podcast.
Rise of the podcast. Are you sure? I was
We're
too.
really bad at this.
Oh, I missed one. Don't worry, James Cameron's got the rights to Terminator, so we're all good again. Anyway, my name is Neeber.
And my name is Danny.
And we're here to bring you all the latest news, gaming, movie-related, all that pop culture, all that stuff.
Maybe a little Disney.
Spoiler alert. If you're a return guest, you know the drill by now. If you're new, welcome. We love to have some new people here. Yeah. You're going to listen to our dulcet tones for the next hour as we we'll take it just kind of talk, laugh, maybe cry. I don't know. We'll see how bad the news is this week.
I could probably cry this week.
We could probably cry this week. There's a lot of really good news coming down this week. But as we do like to start each week, we do like to start with the catch up. And this is where we just like to have a bit of a catch up, Danny. We don't really talk to each other much during the week anymore because we kind of just save it for for here. So look, we gave each other some homework. We're going to start with some. We're going to clean house here.
Last week we both realised we both had Battlefield 1, but I'd only been playing the single player.
And I'd only been playing the multiplayer.
So we challenged each other to do the reverse.
Yes, that's very true. Did you?
Yes, I did. Did you?
I did.
Okay, well...
I didn't finish it all, but
cheers.
I would like to say, cheers. There you go. A little Batman cup chink for you. Nice. There you go. Old bean. I got...
I like the multiplayer, I will say that much.
Yeah, and I'm halfway through the single player.
Oh, wow.
The single player is not that long, I must say. It's probably only about... There's 6 campaigns. Yep. The first one is really the prologue of the whole thing. And then each campaign takes you about an hour and a half.
Well, let's stick with the prologue for now, at least. Well, I mean... That to me was just brutal.
Yep. So it basically, if you haven't played Battlefield 1, Battlefield is kind of known for being the more realistic of the first-person shooters out there. The more hardcore, the harder ones.
I'd say it got a little bit more silly in Battlefield 4. A little bit more sci-fi, a little bit more
Call of Duty, if you will.
Which wasn't bad. That was the direction they were going.
No.
This is a very, very different...
It basically sets you up for the idea that you're going to die, and you're going to die a lot. It basically, in the epilogue, the prologue, I should say, it basically has you playing characters holding the lines of a World War One trench somewhere in France, and then your character is going to die. And then when you die, it just shifts you into another character. And every time you die, it gives you like that, the name of Danny Beaton, 1847 or 1895 to 1915 or whatever it is, and it really sets you up for that grim. It was actually really. I've said this at least since Star Wars Battlefield came out. The sound design that DICE have put into the games is just brilliant. It makes you feel like you're in a war, but then also the graphics as well. This is the first time in a game in a long while that I've truly been wowed by the graphics.
I just felt like I was in the middle of battle, and I felt like I could die at any moment.
Yeah.
And every other game I've been...
And you did, let's be honest.
And I did. Every other game you're playing this invincible, god-like hero, whether you're playing Master Chief or anyone else, or Overwatch, where they're all gods.
Have you played actually any of the single player style, like the campaigns?
Yeah, absolutely. I've played the tank one. I played the plane one through twice.
I played the plane one. I played the plane one, and I played the runner.
Yeah,
which is the Australian campaign.
I haven't done the runner yet.
The runner is a very good campaign. Yeah. It's actually relatively short. It's not. The runner is like, so each of them have their own, one is an American, one's an Australian, one's a Britishman, and one's like a there's one other one. I can't remember what it was. One of the other allied countries, but they each focus on a different story. But the Australian one focuses kind of in the Gallipoli area,
of course,
and which is actually really good. And it doesn't really tell the story of the movie Gallipoli, but it's kind of similar. It tells the idea of runners, those guys running from the front to the back lines and things.
Which was a big thing back then.
Which was a huge thing. Yeah. When you didn't have telephones or communication lines, you literally had to have guys running from the back line to the front line.
Absolutely.
So that was really good, but I really loved the airplane one. The airplane one, I did have to swap to mouse controlling the airplane. I didn't really enjoy it, but I had to because I was I'm just getting wrecked otherwise.
Yeah, okay.
But the conclusion of that, getting the whole battle on top of the behemoth.
Oh, my God. But it's just, I felt like that's how you do a single player campaign for a war game.
It had just enough silliness in it to make me go,
I wouldn't say silly, I'd say cheese.
Yeah, cheese. Yeah, look, like, because you kind of go, you know that didn't happen cheese. At all, but I'm willing to suspend my disbelief that 3 guys are going to run.
Well, they earned it. I felt like they emotionally earned it because of the steps they went through at the beginning. They're like, everyone's going to die. This is a tragedy of a game set in a tragic time.
I didn't really like the fourth. Oh no! Look, I say I didn't like the fourth wall break at the end of that campaign where he goes, "Or would I?" And I'm just like, I get it that you're telling us the story, but I didn't want your character, the actual character that I've just been playing as for the last hour, to look at the camera and go, eh?
See, I'm the opposite. I love that because I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, maybe none of it's true.
Who knows, right? You know, and look, that was
actually... Either way, it's a great campaign.
Yeah, no, I thought, and so I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to finish the campaign. I'm going to finish the next 2 by the next week. Me too. As I found out, like, they only take an hour and a half per campaign. Like, I'm not completing it, so you can go and look for war manuals and like finish all the challenges and stuff, but that's not why I was playing it. And I will say, this is just one of the first solo player campaigns where I've been able to just kind of sit back in my computer chair and go, I don't have to rush to save a teammate. I don't have to do anything. I can just take this at my own pace and enjoy it. And it's one of the few times where I turned off everything in the background. I just had my headphones in and just listening to it. And these headphones, which I'm actually wearing at the moment, do actually provide the surround sound. So getting 7.1 surround sound inside of these is fantastic. Be jelly. It's great fun. But let's talk about the multiplayer very quickly, because how did you go?
Good and bad. My class of choice was the Scout.
Look, the Scout has its benefits, but it's hard to get used to.
I found that out, but in the end, I started to get some really mean shots off. It's really all about kind of approaching it, not rushing into a battlefield ever.
You really have to retrain yourself to go, if you're a Scout, you're not at the front lines, you're halfway back or all the way back and just scoping people.
I was getting used to Overwatch, where it's like, get to the battlefield, run!
Get back in as fast as you can,
And every time that would happen, I would die instantly.
And retrain yourself. I
started getting there.
How angry did you get in your first game?
Relatively angry.
Very angry.
I placed like 28 or something. But the last few games, I was placing... one game I placed 4th. The other games on my team, of course. And then I was placing basically 9th.
That's all right.
I kept getting best scout.
That's all right. That's good. So I'm a support. I like playing support. I'm the ammo guy. I like the LMGs. They're good fun. But I'll use the LMGs in burst fire, so that's good. Speaking of games, though, you tried out the For Honor beta on the weekend.
I did indeed.
Samurais, Vikings... and Knights.
Yep.
With more to come, by the way. They're not the only 3 that will be in there. Explain to the people at home what For Honor is.
So, For Honor is basically, think of... It's complicated, right? It's basically if you've got like a Witcher-style game, but you're against another Witcher-style class with a whole bunch of minions between you, right?
So it's kind of like a League of Legends MOBA, but in third person sort of thing.
Yeah.
Without the special abilities other than combos. And
yeah, basically. Now, playing it, though, feels like a fighter game. It feels like you've got to block, you've got to parry, you've got to attack this side, move, dodge. It really has like there's combos as well.
Right.
So the mechanics of it feel really fighty. Now, I played a lot of the 1v1 stuff, and my only problem with the game for the most part was, I swear, there was more load screens than there was actual game.
Who's the developer of the game?
It's
Ubisoft?
No, Ubisoft's doing it, yeah.
Ubisoft have had some bad load screens in the past.
Yeah, seems pretty bad. Like, I play a game.
Can you put that down, though, to it not being fully optimized, being on a beta?
No, because it seems intentional. Again, I didn't play every setting. I played most classes.
Okay.
But I really just wanted to kind of refine my character through the 1v1 stuff. And it was best of 5, so every time someone would die, which is pretty quick, like you're not lasting it's not these huge epic health battles. So, if someone got the right couple of moves, you could be 10, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. So I had these games which lasted 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
Right.
And every time you die, it throws you to a new map and you've got to reload it. And then, after it's finished, there's another load screen. You've got to go through the screens to decide if you want to play with that person again. Then it shoots you back to the original screen.
Right.
So I was in load screens more times than I was playing the game, and that was a little bit frustrating. But I was picking 1v1 versus some of the bigger games.
And the bigger games do tend to last for longer, where you have multiple lives.
But again, I still felt like it wasn't. I played one of the Brawl where there's I think 3v3 with a whole bunch of minions. And that that was a longer game.
Yep.
But I still only played it for 7 minutes and 9 minutes.
Right.
So it still wasn't these huge games. So
look, yeah, maybe, who knows, maybe they'll get their optimization sorted by the time. I mean, there is another open beta weekend coming, which
that was closed beta, so the next one's open beta.
Sorry, so the next one is the open beta for everyone if you want to try it out on the 9th till the 12th of February. So that's For Honor by Ubisoft. It does look impressive, I will say that, but look, I hope they can...
It's fun, but hard. I feel like it's got a very steep learning curve. If you can really kind of figure it out. A lot of the other comments that I was reading online, that people saying pretty similar things. They're like, it just has to click. And when it clicks, it's a different game.
Sounds good.
I didn't get to that stage.
All right, well, hopefully you'll be able to... you'll get some more optimizing stage in the next open beta, in the open beta, I should say. I know you'll be playing it because I know it's your sort of game. Look, we'll touch on it very briefly because we didn't actually watch much this week.
I was just doing a lot of repeats of old stuff.
Yeah, me too. I was watching some Disney classics, Emperor's New Grooves, Mary Poppins, those sort of movies. Just chilling out, but I did catch up on Rebels. I am currently caught up finally in
missed
season 3.
Sunday's episode, so
I
haven't seen the absolute latest.
This is a first. I don't know if I've ever been in front of you in Rebels, so you need to get your shit together.
It's only Tuesday. Give me a couple hours.
That's all right. But look, we will endeavour to at least watch a new show each week and probably try a new game each week or do our homework. So we'll continue that on. But ladies and gentlemen, that was the catch up. We're now going to move into the news, and oh boy, what a news week it was. We're actually going to start with the movies first because there's some pretty important gaming news that's broken this week.
It's a big week for game news.
It's a big week for game news, but there has been some pretty interesting movie developments there, Danny.
Absolutely. So, I'm going to start with the big one. I just want to kind of get that right out really
hot
quickly.
Off the presses once again.
Literally hot off the presses. This only broke just before we basically started our episode today.
Yep.
Actually, I'll say this other one first, which isn't even in my notes because that's how new this news was.
Yep.
The Beauty and the Beast trailer dropped.
Yes.
And woo! What did you think?
Impressive.
Yeah.
Look, I enjoyed Jungle Book.
Yep.
And I like Beauty and the Beast.
Yep.
And I'm very excited to see what they do with the same story. Because what they did with Jungle Book and how they turned Jungle Book into the live animation, I went, okay, I'm on board.
Yep.
Now, but Beauty and the Beast is kind of also a different animal, if you will, to excuse the pun. It's the different. I was about to say it's a different beast altogether. Hey-oh! No, sorry. There's But I'm not playing along. But from that storyline point of view, there's not really. I don't know what else they can.
Can't bear your puns.
You've seen the.
We've just lost 10 subscribers just then.
That was a beauty. Oh, we should do this all night. But you know what I mean, though, in the sense that Beauty and the Beast is not. There's not really much else you can do with that storyline.
Yeah. And I'm okay with that. I don't necessarily even want to twist. I just give me that, but make it real.
Make it real. I am looking forward to seeing the musical numbers, especially Be Our Guest, or just from that one shot that we saw of the plates, and it looks like it's going to be good. I still don't know if I'm sold on how Lumiere looks, but I know they can't really. He has to look that way.
See, I'm more excited for Gaston's song.
Yeah, actually, I'm very excited for Gaston. Gaston's always a good fun. Josh Gad will be good fun. He'll be good as the sidekick as
LeFou.
As LeFou, he'll be good.
Yeah.
Emma Watson looks like she'll be a perfect Belle. To be honest, the whole cast looks fantastic. And then
they've cast Ian McKellen. How do you go wrong with Emma Thompson?
Sorry, the Ariana Grande and the John Legend of Tale as Old as Time sounded fantastic on the trailer. So. Look, I
was worried about that until I heard it, and I'm like, nope, that's right.
No, they've both got amazing voices, but Ariana Grande is just, she's basically she's what she is because that's what sells records, and she sells a lot of them. So
she's got a great voice.
Yeah, she does. But it was fantastic. I'm actually looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I know that Beauty and the Beast as well, for a lot of our friends, is one of their favourite Disney musicals as well. So I hope for that. I hope for their sake it is really good, because it has to be really good. It can't just be okay. It has to be really good. Yeah, I really hope it will.
Absolutely. I'm pretty excited either way. It's a good trailer. That said, we've got another piece of news. This is on my notes.
Yes.
This is on my notes.
This was also broken today though as well.
Also today.
Not as hot as the previous.
Not as hot. This was about an hour before.
This is warm.
Yeah. So it's lukewarm.
Yeah, it's lukewarm.
Ben Affleck will not direct the Batman movie.
All for it.
Yep.
All for it.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the quote here, but I don't really think...
I'm not going to read the quote.
Yeah, I don't think we need to worry about the quote, but I'm all for it. I mean, I understand why they gave him direction over it.
Because he's
a good director. Yeah. He's a fantastic director. But I also agree with his decision to go, you know what? I can't be a great Batman and a great director. I can be good of both, but I can't be great.
Well, and this ties in not only to this quote itself, and really what this quote is talking about is that he wants to collaborate. He still wants to collaborate. He's still, a producer.
He still wants a bit of hand writer. In the direction, but he just doesn't want to be the director. He doesn't want to have to take on that.
And that also goes to the fact that there was an interview he had recently where he was talking about, the bat costume, how, you get headaches when you're wearing the cowl, how, it's incredibly stressful. You've got to be in the costume. It's hot. Yeah. It's hard to do your job.
Yeah.
And he still has to be, working out like a Superman to, stay in shape, plus directing. And directors are always the first people on set, the last people to leave. So, I mean, honestly, to me, I hear that and I go, that's impossible. Yeah. That's an impossible task. Let alone, and the fact that he said, you know what, I can't do this. I want someone else to come on board. I don't
think it's a matter of he thought he can't do this. I think he thinks that he's showing the source material enough love here to go, I have respect that I don't think it'll make a great product if I do it this way. And I think it shows that he has a lot of respect, not only for Batman, but for the movie that he creates. And I think that, and there was that whole thing of like, he only really likes to star in movies that he has to direct in. So for him to actually take that stand and go, you know what, I'm going to take a back step and actually still help with the direction, but come more
and producing,
produce it. So he still gets a hand on it. He can still
produce a film without.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that shows a lot of a very humble attitude and a really a respect towards the craft.
I'm a big fan of Ben Affleck's directing and his writing. And
Argo was one of the most tense films I've watched in the previous years. That was
The Town. The Town was fantastic.
The Town as well. Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah.
If the Batman's half as good as The Town, I'm all in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
We'll keep going. Again, we have another few little stories. John Hurt. This one hurt.
Yeah, it did. R.I.P.
That was not a good pun. I'm sorry for that one.
He's rolling in his grave right now. I'm sure that pun's been made a lot of times since he unfortunately passed away.
Yep. I didn't say that, did I? I was just thinking it and just...
Yeah, no. Yeah, but, he was, of course, many of the people in this generation will know him as Ollivander from the Harry Potter series. He's
Alien, the original Alien.
Well, that's what I was about to say. If we go back a couple, he's also... he was also in, for the Doctor Who fans, he was in The Day of the Doctor.
That's true. He was the War Doctor.
He was the War Doctor, so... That's also something from this generation. But if we go back as well, he was, as you said, he was in Alien.
Hellboy, he was in Hellboy as well.
Hellboy, V for Vendetta. Yep. Just to name a few, but he's a legend of the acting.
I've got another one mentioned on here, which is just one of my most favourite science fiction films in the last 5-10 years. Snowpiercer, he was in that.
Love Snowpiercer, yeah, with Chris Evans.
And 1984 is a bit of a classic film for him.
Yeah.
I think he was incredibly talented. He just brought a lot.
He's one of those actors that for this generation of kids and probably around the teenagers where they go, who's John Hurt, and then you say Ollivander and they go, oh no, that guy, and you're like, absolutely. He's also had a lot of bit parts around the place where you go,
he's a character actor. He's a very true character actor through and through, and I say that as a compliment, but we won't linger on the negative too much, so we'll move on to something.
Can we go 1 week without a death, please, and another nerdy podcast? That would be great. Actors, keep it together.
And producers and directors and writers, we're not, stay alive.
Yeah.
The James Cameron, he's basically said in an interview today, I think it was with Empire or Variety, I'm not too sure. I should have added a source. I didn't. I'm sorry. That the scripts are now finished, and they were saying, how close are you to getting, starting production for Avatar 2 to 5.
Yeah.
He's saying he's treating it as like almost a giant film, which is why it's taking him so long. And he basically Avatars 2 to 5 are all the scripts are all written, and they've just started getting ready for production. So not really a new story, but it's coming.
On it? Yeah. Look, I liked Avatar. The tree falling over was one of the most beautifully awe-inspiring shots in cinema that I saw in the early 2000s. Just the scale. It was the first movie that really showed me scale.
Yeah, absolutely.
On a big screen for me. I'm, Look, if the second one is really good and I see where the story's going, I'm all good on it.
I can be this can be great, but until I like the first Avatar was an amazing experience, but I don't necessarily think it was an amazing movie.
Can I just make one point though? James Cameron, unobtainium. Really,
dude?
Come on, mate. Could any kind of sciencey sounding word, and he picks unobtainium.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean that said, I think James Pettigrew.
James Pettigrew.
James Cameron has a lot of pedigree as a director.
Look,
he's a fantastic director. Again,
but I think we owe him a couple of you know what, go do whatever you want.
But I feel like maybe Avatar would be a great prologue to a really good movie. I've tried rewatching it recently and I just can't get through it.
It's a long movie.
It's a long movie, and I feel like maybe if it was sliced, if it was diced, if it was trimmed, if it was a little bit more efficient in its storytelling.
There's a lot of fat you could trim out of that movie.
Again, it was one of my favorite movie experiences ever. Full stop. I saw it in 3D. I saw it in IMAX. It was sensational because it was the first 3D film. Yeah,
it was. It was first film as well, specifically designed for 3D.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was this amazing surreal experience. But now that it's out on Blu-ray, maybe it's just not the kind of movie you see at home. But
maybe, yeah.
Because I saw it twice at the cinema and I loved it. But now I can't watch it on DVD or Blu-ray.
Look, hopefully it's good.
Yeah, I'd love to be proven wrong and love to be super excited for it, but we'll find out.
We like good quality. What can we say?
Moving right along on the subject of directors. Directors are the new stars. If you didn't know that, directors are all the rage.
At the moment.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh yeah. Mr. Old twist ending or twist in his film. How is he?
So obviously he had a bit of a slump session after he destroyed my precious The Last Airbender, and which I will never forgive him for. But I'm just going to tell
Did he write that? Did he write the script for that?
He wrote and directed.
Okay.
He was completely. But let's just move on. I can move on from that.
We still have Korra and we still have the animated series,
and they're still the best.
Yeah. Anyway, moving
on. That said, he did a film recently called The Visit, where some kids go visit their grandparents.
Yep.
I saw it recently. I thought, this is actually a decent movie. It's a good movie. There's some nice twists. I actually showed my sisters, and they were terrified, and I was terrified, and we were all a mess. It was absolutely terrible. But it was a solid film. It wasn't a bad film.
Okay.
Like what I was kind of starting to expect from him. So his newest and latest film called Split.
James McAvoy.
The amazing James McAvoy, has actually now hit I'm just going to check my notes here, $100 million worldwide for a $9 million budget.
That's good return on investment there.
Very good return on investment. Now, obviously there's a big twist at the end of this film. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to wreck it. But I will tell people, if you're at all interested in any M. Night Shyamalan films, go see Split as soon as possible. It's in your best interest.
All right. Well, that sounds good.
So it's not a twist. I said it like it's not a twist at the end. Really.
I honestly kind of.
But there's something at the end that goes, okay.
I kind of feel like I almost feel like as if the trailer is misleading you into what to expect in this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not 100% sure about that because I haven't seen the movie.
Sure.
But knowing his sorts of movies, I look at the trailer for Split and go, is that what really is going on?
I don't think it's... now, that said, I'm not saying it's a great film. Go out and watch it. It's the best film you're ever going to see.
No.
It's not, Deadpool. It's not Civil War. It's not the best piece of cinema you can see.
Side note, rewatch Deadpool this week. Still as funny as the first time.
I know, every time it's great.
Anyway, back on topic.
It's a solid film. If you like, thrillers, it's worth its bucks at the cinema.
Okay, well there you go.
So check it out.
Would you matinee price or full price it, or for our Campbelltownians, Demerit Street it?
I mean, I'd see it Demerit Street.
Yeah.
It's not again.
Telstra tickets.
Yeah,
Telstra.
If you can get Telstra tickets, it's worth it. So it's a fine film. Just check it out if you can. We'll move right along. But congratulations, Mr. M. Night. Get a new name. We'll move right along to
Shamalama Ding Dong, as people like to call him. Moving on.
It's a bit of a DC theme. I know we had a Marvel Disney theme last week, and we've got a bit more of a DC theme
kind of
today.
Cool, ironic irony given the hat that I'm wearing at the moment, but that's all right.
I know.
That's okay, moving on.
You've got a Batman mug, so
that's
true.
Totally
okay. So I just wanted to touch very quickly on The Flash. The Flash is basically getting a page one rewrite. everything he's doing on Justice League is obviously completely changed from what was intended. They're introducing a lighter tone, which everyone has been saying across the board at the Warner Brothers DC people.
Flash is the jokester of the DC universe. Is that why? He's practically, that's good news.
But it's good news. They've lost 2 directors, one being absolutely terrible, being Seth Grahame-Smith, who was the dude who did Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and the other one being Rick.
Do you remember that was a movie?
Yeah.
I bet most people forgot that was even a movie.
It's a movie. And the other one was Rick Famuyiwa, who did, I probably pronounced that wrong, sorry, but he did Dope, which was fantastic. So he was a really good director. I thought he would have really had a really nice, he would have brought something really nice to the table. But so it's getting a page 1 rewrite. I think it's a great thing. Obviously, if they've lost directors, just scrap it and start again.
Yep, let a director.
No one's in a hurry. Yeah. No one goes, give me my Flash movie. Just
considering that the DC universe hasn't really had that wow movie yet. We've had a couple of good, and I'm excluding. I'm excluding Batman movies out of this. Yeah. Right, I'm excluding the Batman movies out of this completely. There's been some good movies, but there hasn't been like the Civil War of
or an Iron Man, or Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, there just hasn't been that one where everyone goes, yeah, man. Like, so I'd almost argue that Marvel is, I'm not almost argue. I will say, Marvel is on a much higher level than DC, at least from a cinematic point of view.
Well,
I should say, not from just because.
I'll touch on this little thing really quickly, and like more so than anything else, it's just Marvel have their finger on the pulse of the characters.
Yeah.
Every movie for the most part.
But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them doing that.
Me too. And I just want DC and Warner Brothers films to go, okay, let's put the characters on a journey. Let's have them start here and then end up here. If you look at Batman, Superman, Batman vs Superman, even if you look at Suicide Squad or Man of Steel, the characters don't really go on any kind of journeys.
That's what makes the Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy so good. So the character gets put through a 3-movie arc. Like, granted, they probably didn't plan that at the first one. They went, "Oh crap, we can really do this."
Well, no one thought they were going to be successful.
But they did. They did actually. Yeah. They were able to retcon it in that it actually all kind of melded into each other.
And that's just good filmmaking. Yeah. So we won't spend too much time on that. And that's it. I'm confident DC have some of the most iconic characters in the world. Not even superheroes, just characters. Some of the most iconic characters in the world. Second maybe only to Star Wars.
Yeah. I would honestly say Superman is the most iconic. Is the most iconic Western character of all time.
I don't disagree.
So Batman now, thanks to the movies, is certainly up there as well.
But now Iron Man is too. I mean, no one knew who Iron Man was 10 years ago.
I would say, but if you said comic books 50 years ago, who would you say? Superman, right? 100%. And that's the thing. Superman has that staying power. So look, give him credit. Give him a great movie.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. So we'll move right along. We've got another couple little stories here. We will touch on Doctor Who.
Oh yeah. Speaking of John Hurt from before.
Yeah. I should have segued, but I didn't.
Yeah, that's all right. It's all right.
A terrible segue. Peter Capaldi's leaving after season 10, and so is show runner Stephen Moffat.
Oh, that's a big loss. Steve Moffat's probably what made that show what it is today. Now, look, I'm sure there's other people who can do it justice, but
I'm okay for a fresh start now. I feel like
that's the end of his third season, though, Capaldi, isn't it?
Yes.
Be the end of his third season.
Because it was 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah, so I'm okay with that. Smith had 3 seasons, so Tennant had 3. Like people say, "Oh, it's early," but it's actually not early in the terms of Doctor Who universe. So.
Not the recent Doctor Who. universe, anyway.
So I'm okay with that.
Yep.
That's all right. But it looks like we may be coming up to wrap. Is there any other things that you want to make mention of?
One thing I'll throw out really quickly. Production has started on Han Solo. Are you excited?
Do you even need to ask that question?
That's true. Let's move on to games.
We don't even need to do that. Let's with our rapid excitement. We're going to be talking about this for so much more. Coming in the coming years.
There's no news there.
Look, we'll just talk about it. Anyway, we're going to leave the movies there and we're going to head on to the big week. That is games. Ooh. Well, last week we barely had anything, and this week. Let me just scroll down here. We have at least half a page worth of notes. And look, we're going to start out with...
That's a lot there.
Yeah, we're going to start out with the rumour mill. We're going to start out... a couple of big things happened this week.
Hit me with the rumours.
The first rumour was that there was going to be a new Guardians of the Galaxy game made by the creators of the Deus Ex series Eidos games in Montreal. That's now actually been confirmed today. They basically came out and said... I don't know if it's actually... I think it's Eidos in partnership with Square Enix.
Yeah.
Same
thing as Deus Ex. Deus Ex was published by Square Enix, but developed by Eidos.
Eidos Games. Eidos Games in Montreal. So, all for it. Now, this actually comes off the back of that. Is that they actually said that Deus Ex was actually going to be canned indefinitely. Yep. Unfortunately, for any of you Deus Ex fans out there, the storyline is still going to be incomplete.
Yep.
But it obviously means that they've realized that the second game didn't sell as good as Human Revolution did 4 or 5 years ago. And looks like now we know where all of their...
The second game or the fourth game?
The prologue to the first game, and now, but it looks like we obviously know where their manpower is now going to be focused in making this joint Marvel.
I think this is fantastic news.
Look, it's sad for all the Deus Ex fans out there, but really good to see that. Well, now we're going to be having the Marvel. What are we going to call it? Because we have the MCU. And this is going to have to be the
MGU?
The MCU, the Marvel Computer Universe.
Marvel Gaming Universe.
It will have to be like the MGU or something like that. So
MCU.
But look, I'm all for it. I'm excited to see the Guardians of the Galaxy. It practically opens itself for a
Mass Effect.
A Mass Effect style, like choose your own adventure sort of thing where you get to
give it a painted coat and I'm good.
Because you could. But the other thing is they have to be careful about how that gets played out because the characters are the characters. You can't really do a Mass Effect and send Star-Lord to be an evil guy. That's not how it works.
Well, there's a difference between being evil and, even in Mass Effect, he's still, spoiler alert, he's a good guy who saves the world.
Yeah.
But he can be a dick about it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Star-Lord's still a bit of a dick.
I'd be interested to see what sort of games they have coming up.
I imagine it will be more morally confusing, like The Witcher.
Yeah, that's probably right. I think that's probably how we'll see it. And look, I'm all for it. I think it's going to be good. Continuing on with the Rumour Mill, though, we're going to start with one that actually broke out a bit later, previously to this, actually about Thursday last week, so just after our last podcast. There was a developer for Obsidian Games. Mm-hmm. His LinkedIn account actually said that there was an unannounced game from Obsidian, a third-person action RPG for consoles. So if you don't know, Obsidian made some of these titles, including these titles, Fallout New Vegas, Neverwinter Nights 2, and South Park Stick of Truth.
Okay.
Do you notice any similarities between those three games? They are all third-person RPG sort of games.
Yeah.
And so, is it really any kind
They're
of...
very different kind of RPGs.
They are different, but they are all the same style of, they are not first-person shooters, let's be honest. So they're all third-person RPGs. And look, to be honest, Obsidian do great do RPGs. I played Fallout New Vegas for the first time last year.
I haven't played it yet.
Bought it on the back of a Steam sale.
Yeah.
And I didn't even play Fallout 3. Now, I originally thought that New Vegas was actually an expansion pack. Realized, no, it's its own game. It's set in the set in the same universe, but it's its own game. Wow, and literally, my first sight as I walked out the door were this post-apocalyptic wasteland cowboys. And I was in. I sunk a good 30 hours into that game. And now I know people go, 30 hours, freaking noob. It's at least 200 or bust. I don't have that kind of time, but I love it. I mean, I'm the type of guy who bombed Nuketown in Fallout 3. It was great fun.
You're a terrible human being.
Look, I didn't realize I would actually bomb it, but then it blew up and I went, oh. So that happened.
What else we got?
The final one, of course, is that there was some details about, speaking of Obsidian, this led to the rumor that someone leaked some details that Obsidian's next game essentially will be Fallout New Vegas 2.
Ooh,
so
that's really strange.
So, well,
Set in the same world as the Fallout 4 universe?
I'm assuming that's what they would do, because I don't think they would go back to... They may go back to the the same universe as New Vegas and continue a storyline. But given how they were,
prequel of the New Vegas, it could be setting up the New
who
Vegas.
knows? I mean, they haven't really leaked the plans or anything. Sure. They just kind of said that it's a thing, and so look, I'm excited. I don't know if I'd be able to play it just because I don't have that much time to sink into a game, but I really need look, if I'm going to be playing Andromeda for as much as I think I'm going to be playing it for, and Zelda. And I've got a baby on the way. It's all just. I was like, what? I'm just gonna need to get just put a baby here, and this is Link.
No, it's more like this, isn't it?
Oh, who knows? I don't know. Well, they've got no net control at the start, so maybe it'll have to be like that. Who knows? You know, maybe they'll. Maybe I'll have to play like the rain tune or the Epina's theme song.
The lullaby.
Yeah, the lullaby and all that stuff. Who knows? But those are some of the rumors that have come out through this week. So some exciting news. But there's actually. So we'll get on to some actual news though. We'll start off with the first Twitter post. Daniel Lingen, the senior manager, community manager, I should say, of EA Games, put a tweet with basically 7 characters, and those characters are #Skate4. That's all it was.
Okay.
So I know you haven't really played a lot of them, but the skate games.
I haven't played any of them.
Well, no, the skate games are essentially the Tony Hawks of the They are the new Tony Hawks. The Tony Hawk 2 was probably, and American Wasteland was probably the best that Tony Hawk's ever been. Skate came in and offered a more realistic sort of thing, but it actually has become a great let's play game for a lot of players. Gets a lot of traffic, and
really?
I think it's
so a lot of people are eager to experience the game in some way.
Yeah, so there's going to be interesting. We don't really know much else other than they're making it, and now there's going to be some details about the single player campaign that you can get. But generally, that game is more about getting your friends, playing with the ragdoll physics, and trying to do some really fun, awesome, ridiculous tricks. So that'll be interesting to see for all you console gamers out there. Hopefully, they bring it to PC straight away. I don't want to see a late PC port, because given the fact that this game,
is it a console game?
It is a console game. Yeah, Skate is a console game at its core, because it really does rely on the controller over the keyboard. But realistically, this is a sort of a game where you get no benefit out of actually using the controller over a keyboard. So hopefully they come up with something. But we'll see how they go.
Get a controller and plug it into your computer.
Which is what I do and how I play Rocket League. So hopefully we'll do it that way. Sticking on the Xbox/console train, we have another Twitter from Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox.
Okay, wow.
And he basically said Xbox One and the Xbox S will be supported consoles for many years. And given that the Xbox One is probably into its 2nd or 3rd year of its console cycle, that's a bit telling of what we're going to be seeing from the console in the coming years.
Well, it goes back to what they were saying earlier, where the life cycles of a console, it's not going to...
Yeah, basically consoles are becoming computers, and computers are becoming consoles. They're all the same machine, and they're actually becoming consoles are more actually a service center more than a gaming platform. And now these days, it's like you have an Xbox to connect to the Xbox store, Xbox Live store, where you get your games and you play it on the console.
Well, all my games are digital now on the Xbox.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time I bought an actual game physically. I don't think it's been at least 4 years since I did that.
Okay.
It's been a long time since I discovered Steam.
Yeah.
And actually understood that, it's actually to be honest, and I had decent download speeds. That was the only thing stopping me when I first got Steam, because I got my Steam account back in 2007, 2008. Wow, okay. I've had it for like a long, since it's near its beginning. I think I got it specifically so I could play the Orange Box back in the day.
Wow, that's going back.
Yeah, like the Portal Team Fortress 2 release. Like I was one of those guys that was playing Team Fortress 2 before it went free to play. A long time, so all the free to play went, and I had the little coin that said 5-year veteran, and everyone's like, "Oh crap, you've been playing this a long time." But yeah, I think this is an interesting conversation piece, because it really shows that this is probably the way that the PlayStation will most likely go, which is in the sense of they can't really do much more with the console as it currently is. Yeah. And as such, I don't think they're going to be releasing a new console anytime soon. And Phil Spencer's practically just confirmed that.
Well, the other thing I wanted to touch on is, I know, and this is a slightly old news, but they were talking about there's some really strong rumors of what the Scorpio was going to look like. They've confirmed the 6 teraflops of data again, and it looks like it's a real beast, and it's doing as close to true 4K as possible. So I feel like now the games, at least for the foreseeable future, it's not going to be about buying a new console or buying a different game. It's just about, okay, this game is going to play on 4K, or if you don't have that console, it's going to downscale it.
VR. Scorpio needs the power for VR.
Well, that's the thing. So you can be playing a game that's built in 4K, but if you're playing it on your Xbox One or your Xbox One S, it's just going to scale down to
1080 or 1440, whatever you're using at the time.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of look. It's going to be interesting. Like I am the PC player of us too.
Yeah.
But I honestly do see a point that if the Steam box was successful, which is the Steam box, which was essentially Steam's console, it was essentially a Linux box that basically ran Steam, and if that wasn't really successful, and that it had its own issues. Much like Google Glass, the world wasn't ready for it. It was kind of beta. They would put it out there to say, look, it was an alpha thing. They weren't. I don't think Steam were expecting to make money off that at all. I think they just wanted to see because the idea of it is that you could have other companies making a Steam box. So essentially, Steam wanted to make a PC market out of the console.
Well, here's the thing, though. I feel like Xbox are kind of starting to really touch in on this anyway now.
Yeah.
Now they've got Play Anywhere.
Yeah.
I know there's a guy at work who is buying the Play Anywhere titles.
Yeah.
So he's playing it on his home computer while the son's playing it on the Xbox.
Yeah.
So I feel like now Microsoft really kind of have their fingers on the pulse of that.
Yeah, I think Steam's not that far behind them either, and I think that's the idea of cloud gaming. Look,
which is all about the Xbox and the Sony now.
Yeah, I think that's probably where I eventually see things going. Maybe not for about 10 years until people start until it's viable that people actually have an internet connection that can sustain it. But the idea of that you won't even need a console, you can just stream your game over. The problem there is the ping, which is obviously the latency control between your controller and then the input lag.
And
that's your big
still
problem.
the graphics.
And but
playing 4K in a VR.
But if you have a fiber connection, that doesn't matter. If you have a fiber connection, the amount of data you're pulling down doesn't matter.
I still feel like that's a 20-year.
Yeah, it's a long way away, and I'm not trying to say that's going to be, but like I do think that consoles and computers they are kind of on this merging path. They're not there yet, but the idea that you can play a game like Rocket League, for example, PC players can play against Xbox and PC players can play against PlayStation. Now, the developers of Psyonix have said there is the ability for them. They've coded it into the game that PlayStation can play against Xbox, but they have to wait for Xbox to say PlayStation.
No. Xbox went out and said we're more than happy to.
Yeah, it was PlayStation the other way around, and Psyonix have said, as soon as Sony gives the green light, we can literally flick the switch and everyone can play against everyone. And that is where the future of gaming goes, which is that it doesn't matter what console you buy. To me,
that's the future.
But I think Sony doesn't like that at all because they
don't at all.
Because realistically, Sony's music they're making it still money there, but it's certainly not as big as it was. No. I can't, like 10 years ago. So
their movie studio might not exist in a year.
Yeah, so gaming's where they're really focusing, but honestly, I do think that that's where it heads. They can still. That's why we're seeing starting to see some more exclusivity titles come back in because they realize.
If I can hijack you for a second, and just talk about Sony really quickly.
Yep.
I do know that the Sony movie, Sony were basically meeting with a bunch of bankers, and the bankers were basically saying, you need to be selling Sony Film Entertainment. Okay. Now, the big thing is they're like, no, we need to wait. They're waiting for two specific films to know if it's going to be successful, because Passengers, the other films from last year, and the films in the last, 3 or 4 years, Sony's been going down and down.
Passengers was okay, but it didn't sell well.
I actually quite liked it, but it didn't sell. And they were expecting that to be huge.
Sci-fi just doesn't sell unless you've got something behind it. And look, unfortunately, J-Law and Chris Pratt just weren't enough. And that's the problem.
It's not the year of the era of the actor doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
It's just not a thing.
Yeah.
Actors don't sell films.
No, not anymore. They partly do, but
they can help. But they won't guarantee.
Not massive budgets at the moment. Yeah.
So anyway, so the point is that there's two. Can you make any guesses of what the two Sony films? I'm putting you on the spot. Sorry.
Homecoming.
Yep, correct. Spider-Man and
Spider-Man: Homecoming,
which is gonna make a bucket of money.
It's gonna make a mint.
Yeah.
And it's got to be the next X-Men movie, probably.
You won't guess the second one. I barely believe it. So
it's going to well, if it's not an X-Men title.
Emojis. The emoji movie.
No, I get it. I get it. I get why they hope
they want emojis to be like Minions kind of money.
I don't get it. Why? Anyway, I don't.
Sorry, sidetrack, but that's basically Sony's plan right now. Let's wait to see what we make. It could be good because Marvel might buy Spider-Man off them.
Speaking of terrible decisions, here we go. Club Penguin is closing down in March.
Oh no!
Look, I know you're totally torn up about this, but Club Penguin has been like a big. It's been basically the MMO for kids.
Wow. Okay.
It's Disney. It was originally called Penguin Club.
Yep.
Disney bought it and turned it into Club Penguin. Mm-hmm. It's probably a lot of the people that we know probably have never played it or heard of it, other than maybe a couple of funny memes where it's basically, there's a couple of guys who swear in a open channel and just get insta-banned straight away, because it's like generally, you know, it's supposed to be for like 10-year-olds and under and stuff like that. There's some really good stories. But after nearly about 10 years of being used, actually not 10 years, probably about 7 to 8 years, it's finally coming to a close. So unfortunately for them.
It's just, in the end, and I'd like to hear your kind of thoughts on the subject. World of Warcraft opened up what was this huge opportunity for MMOs.
Until WoW dies, nothing else can really take its place.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, even WoW, basically, like, look how much money we're making, and no one else has been able to kind of turn that into a solid business model.
But the reason for that is because the player base were all on WoW, and to be able to and the thing that made WoW great was the community. The game was good. The community was what made that game, and then to be able to draw people away from WoW. Well, yeah, it was the first game of its kind to do what it did, and WoW certainly deserves the place. But the reason that no MMO has been able to be successful is because it doesn't have the player base that WoW did, and every time that it draws people away, they don't have enough people. And now, because then we had a whole surge of MMOs, everyone is split. We basically had before WoW, we basically had Ultima, which was big in its own right. And then we had a couple of other little ones, Ashen's Call and a couple of other things. But WoW was the first game that everyone went, oh, no, like, let's play this. And then all of a sudden it became the huge thing as it was. Sure. Speaking of the Blizzard / big companies, we actually have a bit of sad news as well. The Namco, so you know the company Namco from Bandai Namco. Its founder, I'm going to try and get this one. Here we go. Masaya Nakamura. His founder died at the age of 91. Oh, wow. So he's, I know that probably doesn't mean a lot to many people out there, but he is probably, he's been one of the biggest companies that, well, it now is joined up with Bandai in Japan. They're huge over there, make a lot of massive games. And unfortunately passed away. But 91, good run for him though, and he has a legacy going on, so he will always be remembered in the gaming world. We've got 2 more pieces of news though. Well, before we get on to the big one that we want to talk about, first of all, Overwatch released its Capture the Flag mode, playable. Yeah. You enjoying it?
Capture the Rooster?
Capture the Rooster. You enjoying it?
I'm loving it.
It's good fun. I have to admit, it just turns
the game. It's all about the dive.
It turns, it changes what you need, and it just becomes like a lot of Genjis and stuff. But I'm all for it. I'm all good for a different sort of, like, rather than having to have a balanced comp, you can come up with really random things.
If we can talk about Overwatch for just a second.
Go for it.
A, I love Overwatch.
So do I. I love Overwatch too.
B, I'm still waiting for them to introduce, like, instances or raids.
I don't think it'll happen.
I think it could happen.
I don't think it will happen. And the reason is because they don't. The reason is because they have a purpose. The game of Overwatch was to be the new Team Fortress 2. That's its point, right?
It's just so fun.
I know it's.
Like,
I know
how
it's
fun
so
was
fun.
Junkenstein's Revenge?
It was fantastic.
That was the most fun.
I know it's a lot of fun, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do a man versus machine sort of thing, like Team Fortress 2. That's what I'd expect them to do. I don't think they'll have. I say
instance in the way that I'd imagine, like, let's take Iconwall for example.
Yeah.
The map Iconwall.
Yeah.
I'd imagine there'd be something like there's just hundreds of Omnics, and you've got to get to the other end. Yeah. You've got to get your entire team to the other end.
Yeah.
And it's borderline impossible. And it's just this huge slog getting through all this endless storm of...
I don't think you will. And the other reason I can tell you right now is because you don't want to take players away from your multiplayer, but from your queues. Because if you start taking and make the queue waits longer than, say, 5 minutes, people will go, is it really worth me waiting 5 minutes to play a game? And that's the other reason. From a standpoint, you don't want to split your community too wide that all of a sudden you're competitive and your other stuff. I know you're sad. Here's what we said, that he'd probably cry. But unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. I would be surprised if they brought something like that in, but I think you'd have more of a man versus machine sort of thing.
But isn't it so huge now? Like, I feel like it's just getting bigger and bigger.
It is getting bigger and bigger.
More people play, like, I may or may not have started playing a new character to...
Yeah, look, it's huge.
Wreck with my main comp character, and there's tons of players. Like, there's so many new players still.
But can you imagine what that would be like if all of a sudden the queue time started becoming bigger?
I don't think they would be. I really feel like there's millions of players.
If you split it up, though, that does happen. It will happen, and I'm
talking maybe like seasonal events.
Yeah, no, look, seasonal events I'm happy with. I think
big seasonal instance events.
I'd like to see they'd be okay, but I don't think you'd ever have a permanent.
Oh yeah, no, I can.
Anyway, moving on from the Overwatch Capture the Flag, we actually are going to move on to another esport, Counter-Strike Global Offensive.
Yep.
For the past 2 weeks, they've had their first major, which we talked about in episode 1, which is the E-League Atlanta major for 2017. And it wrapped up on, what day? It wrapped up Sunday, 2 a.m. our time. It was broadcasted live on TBS, which is a TV station in America.
Public
broadcast at 10 a.m. broadcast time.
Look at me go.
It was, look at you knowing your stuff, like as if you know media and things like that. But I don't
know anything about the sports.
Look, the way that the tournament broke down is that each team, it was a Swiss sort of thing, so each team played up to 5 games. Oh, they all played 5 games with all of the teams basically going for 5 wins, which then basically sorted out your ranks going into the quarterfinals, and then from the quarterfinals they basically did they actually had their first 4 seeds, then they did 8, and then they played all the way through, so you had best 12 working your way. So it was a 24 team competition, which is huge for Counter-Strike. $1 million was up for first prize, I do believe.
So not a lot of money.
No, that was just for first prize. That's not the prize pool. That was first prize. And it came down to 2 European sides, Virtus Pro and Australis. And Australis took out the match 2-1 after being down 1-0. And
that's a comeback.
A lot of people were they didn't like the fact that the grand final was only a best of 3. They wanted it to be a best of 5, but unfortunately E-League, due to broadcasting and what they had. But they look, this was actually from a competitive standpoint, a lot of positive feedback came out of this, saying that the tournament was probably one of the most balanced and exciting tournaments they've seen in the Counter-Strike scene for a long, long time. So,
how big is the Counter-Strike scene now?
Counter-Strike scene, I would be willing to debate that the Counter-Strike scene is the biggest esports scene at the moment. Now, Dota has the biggest prize in all of esports. The international always garners over $10 million, 10 to 12, $14 million prize pool. Granted, yes, but I would be willing to say that, whereas Dota is a lot like tennis in the sense it has its majors, like Counter-Strike does, but Counter-Strike teams have their own leagues as well, which Dota has, but they're not, as the leagues are more popular. Especially in Western countries. In China, they're huge. But in the Western countries, the leagues are bigger in Counter-Strike. League of Legends was the top. It's now no longer. All credit to StarCraft, who started the esports blitz. And then League of Legends came in and then brought in their own pro leagues. And now ESL runs the Counter-Strike. Also, ESL does some stuff for Dota as well. They have like their ESL 1, which is their majors as well for Dota. But Counter-Strike, arguably, they had over 1 million live concurrent viewers for a semi-final on the internet, right? So not including the broadcast data for the grand final. In a semi-final, they had over 1 million concurrent viewers on all of their YouTube Live, Twitch, Azubu, all of those platforms. So they had that's.
I mean,
huge.
It's not like Super Bowl numbers,
but still, it's not. It's
not chump change though either.
No, it's not. But I'd be interested to see what the total unique viewership for that tournament would be, because League of Legends boasted something like 50 million in their World Championship. Yes.
Where's Overwatch ranked in this?
Overwatch is very low at the moment. In terms of an esports there, but it's nowhere near in terms of where these other sports. Now, granted, Counter-Strike has been, and League of Legends is into Season 5, Dota 2 is into its 6th international this year, and Counter-Strike is probably into its 4th or 5th major year of esports going on at the moment. Overwatch is a baby in comparison. It's got a long way to go. If it has the staying power...
But it does have that Blizzard power.
Yes, it does, but I don't know if it has enough. It depends on the staying power.
Yeah, okay. No, good point. Good point.
It also suffers from... Counter-Strike has the idea of that you just get different guns, different guns do different things, and then it's the skill of the player. But Overwatch suffers from the fact that League of Legends, Dota, and Overwatch, you need to know the characters and their movesets.
Yeah.
That's a lot harder to teach audiences, and it's a lot harder to get new players who don't know the game to watch it. Whereas Counter-Strike, and that's one of the reasons why Counter-Strike is so big, is because you don't need to know anything about the avatars that they're using. You can just say they're using this gun, and then you look at how they use that gun.
You could almost argue, though, because I feel like Overwatch is relatively simple, though. It's watching, not playing.
But it is frantic. I will say it's frantic. And so if you don't understand what the powers are doing,
crazy, and everyone's watching.
If you don't understand what powers they're using, it can be frantic, which is the problem that I think Overwatch, Dota, and League have, which is why they struggle getting new members. But look, you know, if it's exciting, and people will watch. So, look, I'm excited for more esports, not just Counter-Strike. I hope to report on some more things, the League of Legends and all that stuff. But
I find this all very curious.
Yeah, so
I don't really follow the esports. So
so we'll see how it goes. And look, our final piece of news that we wanted to report on, and unfortunately on the sad side, after 10 years, ABC's... A decade. And they celebrated the 10th year in September of last year. The ABC has decided to cancel Good Game, its game-related review show on ABC, indefinitely. Yeah. And
that also includes Spawn Point. No, Spawn Point's still going.
So we should mention that Spawn Point, which is separate for kids only on ABC 3.
Well, it's G and PG games.
Yeah, but it's for kids. It's pointed at kids. That one is its own separate entity, but they don't know if it'll be under the Good Game banner. But it's still going to be
it could be different. But the big one is obviously Well Played, which is all about the esports.
Yep.
And Pocketeers or. Good Game Pocket, which is all
the daily
Nick
news,
Boy.
And
which is a big. That has a huge YouTube presence.
Yeah, he's been getting it. So we'll talk about this. It started off. There was actually the original host in the pilot where there was like Sidsky or Sidsky or something like that, and Kapowski. Sidsky, I think. Sidsky is the producer of the original show. I should say actually. Sorry, she wasn't. The original was Kapowski and Junglist. Kapowski only lasted for about a season before. I don't think he was really testing that well or rating that well, and they brought in Barjo, and Barjo and Junglist went for, I think, 4 or 5 seasons together. Yep. Then after there was some, let's just
creative
creative differences, or like Junglist was let go, but then there was all this stuff. They brought in Hex, who was the first female hoster. Look, she did a fantastic job.
I love Hex, and I love her game tastes.
I liked Hex. I just liked the chemistry between Barjo and Junglist more than I liked the chemistry. Now they did grow on me, but it was just it was never the same.
Barjo and Hex were more like Margaret and David. They were different ends, and
not to say that Hex is bad because she's a girl, because I think she's actually fantastic. It's just the show for me just didn't feel the same.
See, I'm in the opposite end. To me, Hex made that show. Like I just always aligned with. Her opinions more often than not, she'd say this game is good, and almost every time I would go, I really like that.
You know what? And I agree as well. And her reviews, I actually agree with her all the time. Have no problem with her reviews.
Her tastes are spot on.
This is a bit of a kind of a, I guess you could say it's showing of the ABC, because as we know now, the ABC has now got a new CEO. They've got now cuts coming into the ABC. And look, they haven't confirmed it, but we really think that's probably going to be. It has to be pay difference. It has to be. I mean, given the fact that they are, like, you know, from a game journalistic standpoint in Australia, you know who Hex and Barjo are. You know who they are. Now, if you've never heard them, that's fine. But from a game journalism point of view, anyone who's into games should know those names.
I will say today as well, I saw a few tweets. I know Sony and I know Warner Brothers, they sent out a tweet saying, you know, we're going to miss you guys. Yeah. I do know as well, Nick Boy and Hex sent out basically tweets saying, obviously, we're no longer kind of part of it. We're no longer involved.
Yeah.
There's... I don't know if Barjo is going to be involved in any way with Spawn Point.
Yeah.
But he still might be doing that, I believe.
So we'll see how it...
So, there could be something left, but like I was a massive... Like, as I said, like Hex is my kind of go-to for gaming news and opinions. And again, if she would say this is a good game or this is a bad game, I'd either go to it or avoid it.
Yeah.
And it was just fantastic.
All right, well, on that disappointing note, it's time for another one, and that's the end of the podcast. Look,
nice segue.
No, that's Annie. He's at Danny Beaton on Twitter. I'm at Neeber TV on Twitter. Catch us up, and we'll take all your questions on the Facebook. Like all that stuff, trailers, whatever.
Subscribe.
Yeah, all that good stuff. We'll see you guys next week, guys. Take care. Until next week, my name was Neeber.
And my name was Danny.
And we'll see you next week on another nerdy podcast.
See you later.
Yeah,
I'm still sad.
No, I'm sad as well.
What am I going to do without Hex's reviews?
You'll just have to find new reviews.